A very warm welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Ajay Pinjani, and I've been working with the Global Schools Forum for the past 3.5 years. Welcome to the community of practice. We are joined by Sanchit and Sakshi from Labhya. I'll introduce them more as well. Really, really happy to have you here. This is a beginning of a community of practice, but not a beginning of a relationship with you. We would have met and crossed paths in many ways, either directly or indirectly, and really looking forward to take this journey ahead with you. If you can switch on your cameras like Hesta has done, please do so. It's always lovely to see your faces and see your backgrounds. Is it morning, afternoon, evening, dark, whatever that is? We would love to see your bright faces. So thank you. I will quickly introduce Global Schools Forum. For many of you are already familiar with. Please, if you could drop in on the chat where you're joining from, it'll be really nice to have that chat filled. Also, in your name, if you can edit your name with having your organization written as well with a dash or a slash, it'll be really great for people to connect easily later on or ask for connections later on. You can always ask for connections. It'll always happier. We don't share email addresses directly, but if you'll ask for us, we'll ask them and we'll share it away. And everyone usually loves connecting with each other. So please do ask. So, a bit about the Global Schools Forum. As you may be already familiar, the vision is as your vision and as everyone else's vision to have all children, not some, but all children realize their potential through safe access to quality education. Our mission has always been since 2017 to support non-state education organizations across low middle income country contexts. As you innovate, deepen your impact and achieve scale, how can we create that community where we can share, learn from each other and grow? We, together with all of your support, have today grown from 7 organizations in the very beginning to 183 organizations across 70 countries, serving many, many millions of children or interacting and engaging with them. And we really look forward to continue learning with each other. A bit about our strategic priorities. Our first 5 years, when we started, 4 years were about really growing up with 50 organizations, creating communities of practice. Since then, for peer learning, sharing, so on and so forth. And then the second strategy phase was till 2024-25, where we really talked about community at the base and introduced our lab work, evidence generation. And now, as we move into the next set of GSF strategic priorities, we really wanted to be brave and wanted to be brave with all of you. We're trying to listen and understand the needs of the diverse community we have, but we wanted to keep the community convener role at the very center. We believe that there are spaces and there can be more spaces where a global community of state education actors can come together to develop beautiful relationships, and those relationships can carry on in very different kind of partnerships and so on and so forth. And we've seen that happen over the years, and that brings joy on our faces and everyone else's. We've also heard from you and many others that we need knowledge. We want to understand what works in different contexts. So you would see on our website, there's a lot of repository building, a lot of blogs, a lot of case studies, toolkits, and reports, which we try to bring from you, co-create with you, and then create from communities of practice like this and share it back. The third and the fourth thing are challenging, but we do not want to run away from that challenge. We believe that there are many pilots which are ready for scale, but funding becomes a huge challenge. Knowing the funders knowing people from the communities becomes very challenging, and we believe that we can facilitate that process. So yes, we would try our best to create those connections, create platforms where funding can be sustainable and easier in relative terms. And fourth, and very, very important, we've seen that while community of practices like this are really incredible spaces where we can get to know each other and about our programs, but when they convert into partnerships or 50% of our members do partner with the governments in their own local context, how can we learn from that and how can we share those learnings and create that fuel for further partnerships is something which we are continuously thinking about and would love to engage further with you through it and throughout. Today, we want to talk about the community of practice. What we have learned over the years is building stronger relationships among practitioners across the countries is just so meaningful. But beyond that, we've seen that peer learning is possible even virtually, and then we can bring it locally in our own context. Further, we have seen that there is a lot of value in aligning what child safeguarding means from one context to another, thereby aligning what climate education means, now what aligning what socio-emotional learning means from across contexts, and then contextualizing, helping you adapt those global resources into your local context. And that is what we thrive upon. So, as we dive into the social emotional learning community of practice, many of you have already filled in the need assessment survey, shared your interest. We met at the annual meet. It has been really pumping from the last year, but it wouldn't have been possible without the support of one organization, Labhya. They've been through and throughout helping us co-curate this community of practice. We took a few months to really plan it out, and we still feel nervous, and that nervousness is good to have. But today we're very, very fortunate. After Ashna and Ananya had presented at the annual meet, we have Sakshi Sharma, who's the curriculum and training team member in Labhya, and Sanchit Miglani, also a curriculum and training team member at Labhya. So we're really, really happy to have both of you lead the conversation here. This is not a spotlight session in particular. It is a community of practice. So you'll see a lot of breakout rooms. You'll see an opportunity to share about your context. And please don't shy away, and also ask, what do you need from this community of practice so we can take this journey ahead. So thank you very much for joining me. And I'll hand it over to Sanchit and Sakshi for now.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ajay. And hello, everyone. Here is good evening. But I hope that in some places or the other, there's good morning. So greetings to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining this session. And, we will be looking forward to learning each other a lot. And before we talk about the session, just giving you a quick heads up around what we'll be covering. So we will be, as Ajay mentioned, that, we got the opportunity to being on the annual meet, and hence we had interacted with a number of organizations, learned from them, and post that session we also shared some post survey. Based on that, the insights that we have received, we will be sharing the SL highlights from that annual meet and survey, and then we will be getting to know each other through a quick activity that Ajay will be presenting. We will be getting on the balcony, and then we'll move into the session about UDL, Universal Design Principles, and also we will be growing together through the collaboration. And finally, towards the end, we will look at what are the upcoming engagements, upcoming sessions that will be there going forward. So this is an entire flow of today's session. Before we move into and dive deep into the sessions, into each of the parts, I request everyone to just take a mindful pause. Mindfulness is basically a scientific practice to center ourselves, to focus our attention on the present moment and on ourselves. And hence, I request everyone to just sit comfortably in a position. If you have a pen nearby, that will be great. Feel free to draw a small flower on your left finger's index, left hand's index finger, just a small flower. Sorry, I'm not that good at drawing, but like this, I hope it is visible. So left hand index finger, draw a small flower. If you're done with that, I know it will be a little bit difficult for some of us, but try to draw a candle's flame in the right hand's index finger. So it need not to be perfect. It need not to be just, you will be able to, if you're able to just distinguish between a flame on your right hand's index finger and a flower on your left hand's index finger. Once you have drawn that, just give me a thumbs up. Great. Okay. So we will assume that throughout the instructions, throughout the practice that we will be doing, we will assume that we have a flower in our hand, a real flower, and a candle in our right hand. Okay, so now I invite everyone to sit in a comfortable position. You can straighten your back, Relax your shoulders. And when you feel comfortable, you may close your eyes. If closing the eyes is not comfortable for you, it's okay. You may lower your gaze. Now take a deep breath in and exhale slowly. Take a deep breath in and exhale slowly at your pace. Now bring the flower in your left hand and the candle in your right hand near to your nose. Now, as you breathe in, smell the flower that you have drawn in your left hand's index finger. And as you exhale, blow out the candle on your right hand's index finger. Breathe in and smell the flower. Breathe out and blow the candle from your mouth. Breathe in, smell the flower, and when you're breathing out, blow the candle. When you're doing this, focus your attention on the breathing. If your mind diverts, try to bring your attention back to your breathing. Breathe in, smell the flower, and a final blow to the candle from your exhale. Now, whenever you feel comfortable, you may open your eyes. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for participating and taking a mindful pause. I hope that you are now feeling, or maybe if I'm not talking about the feelings, let me just open the space. You may feel free to share in the chat or maybe unmute yourself and share how are you feeling at this moment. And with that energy, we will definitely go into the session. So maybe one or two sharings, even through a chat or when you unmute yourself, how are you feeling at this moment? Thank you so much. You're feeling calm. Okay. State of listening, calm and relaxed, balanced, perfect, calm and focused. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your feelings, sharing your state of mind right now. And with this, we move into the session, and to have a session where we are comfortable with each other, where we share whatever you feel, and just have a learning experience, creating a great learning experience for each other. We do have some community norms, we some agreements that we can agree to. So we are basically very, very grateful for your presence, and your openness throughout the session will actually create magic, and hence we invite everyone to engage actively throughout the session. You have great experiences of your context, of the work that you have been doing, of the life that you have lived so far. So please don't hesitate to share those learnings with each other. And since we come from diverse contexts, diverse backgrounds, and hence let's be open to the difference of opinions that are there, the difference of experiences that are there, and honor those. And throughout that, we learn from each other. And major point is also to just lead with curiosity. Whenever you have any question, feel free to drop it in the chat box. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Along with this, we also encourage everyone to have an undivided attention towards this session. Feel free to, and we request to open your cameras and engage actively, unmute yourself. So I hope we agree to these pointers. If yes, feel free to give a thumbs up. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Moving on, as I mentioned, that we got the opportunity to actually interact with a lot of organizations in the annual meet, and we conducted an SEL session where we talked, we interacted with each other, got to know each other, and also talked about the evidence of how we can measure our programs that we are doing. Post that, we also conducted a survey. Based on those surveys, based on the annual meet insights, the major point was that more than 50 organizations globally actually joined these sessions, and we've got to realize, we have got the insights that most organizations are actually working, and some of you majorly are working in the field of designing the curriculum at scale, managing the programs, or getting involved in the teacher trainings. And hence, since most of these organizations, most of you who have also joined at in this session are actually working in these domains and working towards how we can integrate SCL. So some of the need that came was to design at scale, to measure that program and impact of that program, to get into how to capacitate the teachers. And hence we will be covering throughout this community of practice sessions to these different sprints, we will be covering and focusing on the design bit, on the teacher training, and also how to measure that program at scale in evidence. Moving forward with that, I think I'll hand it over to Ajay to just give us an opportunity to get to know each other with a quick and very, very creative activity. So over to you, Ajay.
Thank you. Thank you, Sakshi, for that and for such a beautiful meditation. I think just do feel calmer. It's just lovely to see everyone in the room. We've met at different points in our journey, and it would be incomplete if we don't really get to converse with each other. So, what we'll do is we will enter into breakout rooms now for 10 minutes. But in those 10 minutes, I just wanted to introduce you. Maybe you've already been introduced to this concept. We are always on the dance floor. I know many of you love dancing, and I may have had the opportunity to dance with you in person, as I recall the dance which you led on Macarena, and everyone else. So, aside from that blessing of dancing physically, I think we're often dancing mentally as well, not knowing in our organizations with the work we do and where all that day to day work gets done. But at the end, we sometimes or do get on the balcony where we go and see everyone else dancing. Is there also an opportunity for us to go to the balcony while we ourselves are dancing? And I think that's a question we are asking ourselves and recommending you to ask yourself, that while you are dancing, while you're doing your day to day course in your organization, seeing children learning or not learning, struggling or not struggling, can we be on the balcony as well and see what is that space for socio emotional learning in that particular space? So we would like you to do two things. In the breakout rooms, you will be in groups of 3 or max 4. Uh, Please share your organizational context, where you're joining from. Share it like you're on a dance floor. Share it what happens in that context, rather than, oh, I'm from this organization. You already have that pitch deck ready in your mind. Let's shift it. What does dance look like in your organization and thereby on a day-to-day level? And if you get the opportunity to be on the balcony, what is that space for socio-emotional learning? It does not have to be for the learners. It could be for learners who are leading the organizations themselves. So don't limit yourself to only students and teachers, but to everyone. Give me a thumbs up if it is clear, or you want me to go on and on sharing more about dance floor and balcony. Sounds good. So we'll just open the breakout rooms, spend your 10 minutes. I know 10 minutes are not sufficient, but we just love you. We want to do too many things with you. So we'll take it to 10 minutes for now.
on foundational learning outcomes that actually we're not maybe valuing enough yet the just how important socio-emotional learning is to those outcomes, for example, that actually if we treat it as a bolt-on, it seems almost like an extracurricular activity as opposed to something that's fundamentally important for achieving positive outcomes in foundational literacy and numeracy and so on. So yeah, that's maybe what I see. I'm not sure how to put that into a dance metaphor, but maybe that helps.
No, thank you so much, Graham, for sharing. Welcome back. I am sure that many of you heard how people are dancing in their context, what they are dancing with, what they are dancing on. Sometimes the floor can be shaky, sometimes it's smooth. I would love to hear. We have a couple of minutes before we dive into the dance floor of Labhya, they sharing their universal design principles. We have a couple of minutes. We would love to, maybe in your group, what was highlighted, or even a balcony perspective, it was highlighted. And even if it is at the dance floor level, that's also fine. We'll use this community of practice as a balcony together. Rhoda? I love your face. Would you like
Oh
to
my
share?
goodness, Ajay. We had such a lovely group. Hester and Foster, myself, and Estelle, Cambodia, South Africa, Ghana, Nigeria representation. And it was really like a healthy dance floor. A dance floor that is a combination of kindergarten classrooms where, there's expressions of joy, and then Cambodia classrooms that have just the short school hours in the public education. So Hester's and Hello Futures work in just really just expanding in primary education and in the mix of all of various activities that require, I think more working at the systems level with governments and their partners. And ourselves, and our wishes on our balcony is really just spaces like this, and spaces for learning, spaces for taking a step back to look at what we've been doing and what we can also learn, and how we, for example, what Estelle shared was, how can we learn to integrate social and emotional learning in a condition like ours where we have limited hours of learning. Hester, did I miss anything? Maybe you just throw something in as well.
No, thanks, Rhoda. I think you covered it. Yeah, a few of us said these spaces are like our balcony spaces where we can just take a literal breather like we just did in the nice intro and just kind of get the bigger, broader perspective of what's happening out there outside of our little dance floor space.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And yes, the dance continues. I think that's about the dance floor. You have to go on the balcony while being on the dance floor. It will continue regardless. Azim, Cynthia, Felista, Amra, anyone would like to share from that group?
Of course, it was lovely listening to everyone, and it was again the mix of classrooms, and we talked about how our floor looked like in our teams, within our teams, and how the weather is adding to our those. Nowadays, we are working on a strategy to strengthen our curriculum and our practices at a school level for our children. So this was what discussed. These were the things. Cynthia and Ferrister or Azim may add if there is anything there more.
Thank you, Amra. Thank you for that. Any other group? I can point out every group, but we have 2 to 3 minutes to take this further. So if any other group came up with a balcony perspective you want to share with everyone, or a dance floor perspective. Great. So we can move ahead. I'll hand it over to Sakshi and Sanjit. They wanted to introduce what their dance floor looked like at Labhya and what they are thinking from the balcony perspective of universal design, principles, so on and so forth. So, yeah, happy to hand it over.
Thank you so much. Please let me know if you're able to see the screen.
We can see the screen, but Sakshi, it's a bit audible. You're less audible right now.
Sorry, am I audible now?
Yeah, better. Thank you.
Perfect. Great. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for dancing on the floor and also into the balcony, going to the balcony and getting the view. And every one of us are working towards that dance. We are working towards that balcony view as well. So when we move forward and I've heard few, as Rhoda was mentioning, that we work with children. We work with various ages of children. The context is also different, as other one also shared. So we will be now talking about UDL, Universal Design for Learning, and what are its principles. So when we share the survey with most of the organizations, the key insight that came out about the beneficiaries that you work with are majorly around children, early childhood education, adolescents, young people, even parents and teachers, etc. So these were the beneficiaries that we are majorly working, and these is a wide and diverse range of beneficiaries that we work. So keeping in mind and thinking of the beneficiaries that we work with, when you interact with them, what are the kind of learning needs that your learners bring into that space. If you can share, if you can unmute yourself, take some time to reflect on this question, or maybe share in the chat box. Feel free to do that. We just want to understand, keeping the beneficiaries that you work with, what are the kind of learning needs that they are bringing to the learning space. Does anyone want to share? Is the question clear? So, for example, if I talk about my children, the children that I work with, the beneficiaries that I work with, majorly we work with primary and secondary school children. So, the kind of learning needs that they bring is, that they are coming from a vulnerable background. They are coming from at times broken families, first generation learners. So this is the kind of space, this is a kind of learning need that they bring, to have them provide that space, to have them provide that safe space, as mentioned by Grima as well. Thank you so much, Ajay, for sharing. The parents are often confused how to take best decision regarding their children. Exactly. Most of the time, children are also the children that we work with, also do not have a decision making power. They are the agency is lacking in them, the confidence is lacking in them. So that is something that is also a learning need that comes from our children.
Actually, I'm seeing Rhoda raise a hand. Yeah.
Yes.
Rhoda, go ahead.
Rhoda, would you like to share? Please feel free to
Yes.
unmute yourself.
Yes. Okay. So this question just made me reflect deeper, because the way we work at Kizazi, we do whole child development work, and all stakeholders matter in defining what learning or teaching and learning experiences will be. So for us, collaboration, care, relationships, are part of, and the partnerships are part of it. And we found over time that learning needs, that this question tends to be different for various stakeholders. So the children we see predominantly just want to, be with their friends, learn, want an educator in front of them who understands them. that's really like their own learning need. They never really are. When you ask a child, okay, do you want to really know how you're doing in any subject area, they would say, I'm doing okay. And then, eventually what do you want from the school experience? They say stuff completely different from what most stakeholders want to say, which is that they want them to do well in FLN and they want to do, stuff like that. Kids generally come out and say, I want someone who understands me, I feel safe, and questions. So learning needs, from a broad perspective, including learning how to, be friends with each other, manage their relationships, those kinds of questions. And then with educators, the teachers themselves, they have their own thoughts around learning. Is really about academics and exams and doing well, with kids passing exams. And the stakeholders, the systems drivers want to, both examinations and one lesson that is structured around their teachers feeling comfortable in the school, even in the most difficult conditions. So I don't know, the question kind of, I wonder if it's just focus on learning particularly, or if it's just like a much broader question around the ecosystem or the social contract between the child and the school.
Thank you so much, Huda, for sharing that. No, definitely, thank you, for sharing your context and the teachers and the children that you work with, the kind of learning needs that they, bring to that learning space. I think beyond this, the major point is when we move into a classroom, right? It is, as you mentioned, as most of us also mentioned, that every child comes with a different learning need. So how to cater, because the classroom is filled with different children having different needs, different abilities, different learning styles. So catering to specific need will not be possible most of the times when we design the curriculum, right? And hence, as designers, as curriculum creators, our role is to design something which is universal, something which caters to most of the children, so that the children are able to access the learning, they are able to access and get engaged with the curriculum, and hence the need of designing, at scale, and the need for designing on a universal, keeping in mind the universal design for learning principles comes into place. So UDL, or the Universal Design for Learning, basically is a framework that helps the designers and the trainers to actually maximize the learning experience for our children, to actually promote that inclusive learning to our children. And the principle focuses on how the children not just absorb the information, but it is even relevant for them to motivate them to learn that information, and also how they're able to, once they've understood the information, once they've understood the content, how do they express their learning, their understanding, is something which the UDL focuses on. So the three principles majorly around the UDL is the engagement, the why of the curriculum, the representation, the what of the content of the curriculum, and then the action and the expression of how the children does that. These are the three principles, and majorly we will be diving deep into each of these principles, as we move forward in the sessions. So you all have shared your context, of the children that you work with, the beneficiaries that you work with. So now I'll hand it over to Sanchit to, let us and take us from each of these principles, and how do we cater these principles in our design, in our curriculum, to help these children have the access to learning at maximum level.
Thank you, Sakshi, and hello everyone. If you guys had not figured out, Sakshi and I are in the same room. Pros of sharing a room. So if technology gives up, you can just help each other, and that's what we are here to do, right? We are here to build that community of practice so we can help each other. So it's a great honor for me to share how Labhya takes UDL and applies it to different contexts that we work in. But for me to explain it to you, I would need a little help. I want all of you to come on a journey with me. We'll be going to a small town in Tripura in the northeast of India. So as I set the context, you are free to close your eyes and listen to my voice and imagine the space, or you can just read it on the screen and visualize the context yourself, whatever works for you. I will be reading it out. So if you want to close your eyes, it's that now is the time. Outside, rain splatters softly against the bamboo roof. The air carries the scent of wet earth and the sweetness of nearby tea gardens. You hear a hen cluck, a distant cow moo, and the collective exhale of your classmates, some in relief, others in quiet excitement. For a moment, the world feels held. But inside this room, the reality is complex. There are 30 learners, many of them first generation learners, carrying the weight of their parents' expectation. Their parents are tea garden workers or daily wage earners, often away from sunrise to sunset. The landscape, there is no internet. The roads are washed out by the train. The digital world is silent. While they may lack in connectivity, they belong to a culture that is rich in their own way. So now the UDL challenge for us is in a room where some children are comfortable in group while others prefer being by themselves. Some have missed months of school, all have different starting lines. How do we design a curriculum as inclusive as the landscape outside? And this is not just a random context. We work with these kids in the state of Tripura, and this is actually taken directly from one of our experiences. Now, when Sakshi mentioned the three core principles, I want you to focus on those three core principles while you imagine this scene. And I will be taking you through those three principles and how we apply it to this context. And you can, of course, have more ideas. You can change it depending on what you work with, where your learners come from. So the first principle that UDL caters to is the engagement, which is basically the why. Why should any learner focus on what we are trying to teach them? Why should they have any motivation or purpose behind what we are trying to teach them? So that usually is built by a personal relevance. If this content, if this design, if this curriculum is personally relevant to my life, it connects with me and with what I do and where I come from, I'll be more inclined towards paying attention. I'll be more inclined towards focusing on what's being taught. And then second thing is, I often used to say this when I was doing maths, that where will I use trigonometry and algebra? I don't know. So that is where the personal, that real life application comes in. And to cater all of these two things in an SEL design is slightly complicated, but this needs to be proactive. This does not need to be after the design has been created. These things need to be in your mind while you are creating the design. Only then it will lead to a very meaningful and deep learning experience that the kids can also sustain with themselves. How we do it is the strengths that we had with the Tripura's context is actually the culture, the people, the heritage that the place shares. There's no internet. They're not connected with the mainland. They're not connected with the outside world that way. So our main strength is the context of the learners, the place where they come from, and the ground reality that they belong to. So the program is designed with themes that resonate with them, that makes them feel included. So separation anxiety, assertiveness, negotiation. There'll be themes of migration. There'll be themes of there'll be characters that they can relate to that come from their community. There'll be references to the tea gardens. There'll be references to the bamboo. That is a very popular part of the Tripura culture. So whenever we design a story or whenever we design any content for these people, for these learners, we make sure that they see themselves in those designs and in those lessons. And for if you're doing any activities, we make sure that there are minimal to no resources required for any of the activities. So it does not create a barrier between kids across the classroom. That is how we make sure that the learner feels connected to the design, feels the motivation and the purpose behind what they are doing. Second is the representation is basically the what of it. What are they consuming in terms of content? We have an idea of what our design will look like, but how are we making sure it caters to all the kids in the classroom? And we also focused in the beginning that all these learners are at a different stage in their learning journey. Some of them are very competent. They can understand, they can comprehend English, they can comprehend Bengali. Some of them are not that fluent in those languages. So can we cater to all of these learners? how will that happen is through the representation principle of UDL. Can we give them images? Can we give them audio input? Can we give them activities that involve movement, that involve role play? So they don't feel left out, and they don't, then it's very important. If we don't cater to all of them, the gap is only going to widen. So can we cater to all of them at different points of time, so they are also feeling included and they are also participating in the content? How we do that is Sakshi did a mindfulness activity with you all, and then for us, mindfulness is one of our pedagogies, and in mindfulness, we provide students with the option to close their eyes, lower their gaze. Going forward, they have activities, mindfulness activities that engage them through breath, sound. They're mindful eating exercises. There are visual there's exercises that focus on visual elements, that focus on drawing or creative elements. So we make sure that when we are designing it, we are taking a full bouquet of activities to the kids. So they have a lot of things to engage with. All of them have something or the else for them to engage with, and they feel again included. The last part is the expression part, and I was in one of the breakout rooms where we were discussing how do we measure as well. So this is where the UDL principle of expression comes in. Once they have understood what we wanted to build the capacity in them for, how are we giving them a chance to express? Not every kid is comfortable with writing down. Can we give them spaces to share it vocally in groups, by themselves, with their peers? Can we give them opportunity to draw it out, create something with it? Can we give them opportunities through plays, through movements? Can they create some artifacts that they feel meaningful to themselves? And all of this is not just to give them a chance to express, that is one of the purpose, but that also helps us in gauging how much have they understood it. It's a holistic assessment, because especially with SEL, you can't put down numbers. I remember in the breakout room we were discussing this. How do you put how do you quantify SEL learnings? But for us, holistic assessment is how much are they collaborating with their teammates, their classmates? How much empathy are they showing to people around them? How much problem solving how much agency do they show when they see a problem? How well do they communicate with people outside the classroom? How comfortable are they sharing in bigger groups, smaller groups? So all of these becomes a part of holistic assessment that we observe throughout the ways of expression that we are giving them a chance to do. For us, again in the given context, we have a specific component in our curriculum that focuses solely on expression, that is designed to make sure that they are getting as many ways to demonstrate their understanding, and they have the opportunity to feel safe, to feel heard, to feel valued as part of the community, as part of the classroom. Now these three, what I've done is I've given you a brief context. Now if we deep dive with it into the curriculum, it's much more complex. But for now, what I want and what we would want from all of you is, we'll go in the breakout rooms based on what we have heard so far and the core principles that we have understood. We'll go in our breakout rooms and discuss this question, which is how will you apply these three core principles of UDL when you're designing for your beneficiaries.
Thank you, Sanchit. I think before we go into the breakout rooms, thank you for even sharing the context of Tripurva and the context of children. I think that really puts things into context. It would be wonderful to receive questions. I know Peter had a question earlier, but Peter, do you want to raise that question now? And then we can go into the breakout rooms as well.
Thank you, AJ. I think we can proceed. It was sharing our experience that Rhoda had given. So I think we can just proceed.
Sure. Do we have questions on the slide deck which was shared on the aspect of universal design, how Labhya takes it before? Yep. Yes, Azim. And maybe Sanchit, we can close the sharing of the screen, then we'll be able to see each other. Right.
So the third part where you shared action and expression, I I have a question. Is it about when we talk about assessing the program, especially about social emotional learning, is it about assessing the behavioral aspect of child's learning and how a child behaves or act in his or her actions?
That is one
Is it about
aspect
that?
of it. We can, thank you for the question. We can look at multiple aspects of it. So, behavior is one part of it. Social emotional learning is largely how they manage their emotions and how they manage their relationships outside the classrooms within their classmates. So one part of it is how, again, how are they with themselves when they are posed with some opportunities, when they're posed with some situation, how are they dealing with it, and then how are they also dealing with outside connections. So behavior is one part of it. There is also a more quantitative aspect of it that I think people have. Every organization has a different way of assessing, but for a broader level and connecting it to the UDL, for us, expression as a pedagogy is not just about giving them a chance, but it's also it's not, we are not marking them down that a kid went from 1 to 5 in terms of communication. That's not the idea. The idea is, are they getting a chance to express themselves, and then uh, can we see that the curriculum we had designed, did it make a difference? Did they move some point? Was there any growth at all?
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions? It'll be lovely. Otherwise, then we can enter into breakout rooms. I'll share exactly what we are doing in the groups. If we can look into, this is the Google Doc. This is just for reference, but this is where the presentation which has been shared. So the principles of engagement, representation, and action and expression, how they are applicable in your own context. It'll be really nice to discuss that, and we'll jump into the rooms as well. This document is linked in the chat box. So once I get a thumbs up, I'll have you enter the breakout room so that you can learn how you use and how others use in your group these principles. Or even if you don't use it, while listening to it, what does it reflect? What kind of the perspective you receive, or questions you receive which you want to go and bring it back to the group? That's also good. So we'll open it room for 15 minutes so that there's sufficient time to share the context. Foster, are you able to join the group?
Hi, Ajay. Sorry, yes, I had a bit of a problem. Can you put me in a group?
I can move you to another group. That may be easier. Yeah, let me do that. Lovely. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I think we'll have more people joining in from other breakout rooms in 10 seconds. Well, I was listening to Foster last, and yeah, it does make sense. It just, context can be very challenging in different ways. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for taking the time out to listen and share and contribute. I would like to, maybe we can close the screen for now, Sanchit. Will do a debrief. Thank you. It just yeah, I think one thing which stood out for me and would love to hear your thoughts is, while we have spaces for FLN, maths, numeracy, secondary education, there are structured spaces, and we all have gone to schools and we knew that we'll be in a maths classroom, we'll be in a science classroom. There was never a socio-emotional learning classroom. The whole question comes, do we even need a separate classroom, or does it need to be integrated? So even making a space for it in the first place. So I think that really struck me off, that how do you navigate that in your own context? But I'm really curious what came up. It'll be wonderful to hear a few thoughts. And more importantly, how those thoughts can be contributed to what you want us to do in the community of practice. Our next few slides are about what we wish to do, but we can change that, because the whole point is, what is the need which brings you to this community of practice, and what can we do best in that regard. So yeah. Would be lovely to hear some voices what was discussed. Maybe Estelle, would you like to share?
Me, yes, thanks. No, I think I was just thinking about what you just said, like, do we need a separate classroom for SEL, or how do we integrate it within the classroom? It was a discussion we had earlier this week with Ellie, my colleague within UWS, and to be, in other contexts, I have implemented a separate SEL class. But within UWS, we're thinking more to integrate it within the classroom, considering that the learning time of the students is already very limited. But for me, I just share with my group that the thing that make the change come from the teachers, obviously, and we are not really implementing directly the programs. We are just working with public school, government school. So how do we train the teachers to make transformative trainings and to see real impact in the classroom? Because most of the teachers, they are not really convinced themselves by the importance of SEL. They don't really maybe understand what it is about. So yeah, how to make effective trainings and transformative trainings to see really the impact on the field. This is, I think, one of our biggest challenge, knowing that, for example, in Cambodia, we are supporting more than 600 teachers.
That is such a profound gap, especially when the teachers themselves are tasked with teaching particular subjects. This SEL becomes an additional aspect, and they are tasked, they're not trained for it. There is no particular training they've received in their BEd or MEd or so on and so forth. So there's an added expectation. Thank you for raising that out. That we'll certainly keep in consideration. Azim?
And also one more thing, as you said, that in our childhood, we don't have SEL spaces in classrooms, or even integrated learnings as well. So we don't have any such explicitly for more of the schools that we work with, for example, for underprivileged students. So we don't have such spaces. But now we expect the teachers to practice or do these SEL things with the students, and the teachers are also of overage. They also don't have such experience in their childhood. So if we ask the teacher to teach the mathematics or science, it will be very easy for a teacher, even with a little preparation. But to teach SEL, the preparation needs and the training needs are much more higher than the academic subjects. So that's a big challenge for teachers, I think.
Thank you for highlighting that. I think with TCF, 17,000 female teachers across 2,200 plus schools, every teacher with a minimum graduation of, grade 12 degree, not, and only a few having university degrees, and the university degrees are still questionable. What kind of expectations can we really build up? And if we are building up, what kind of enabling environments can we create? I think it's so daunting many a times. Rhoda?
Thanks, Ajay. I think I just narrowly missed an opportunity to share how we've approached it at Kizazi. And so for us, we have the way we've set up our social and emotional learning program is that we start out with restructuring with the structure of the timetable. And so we have the start and end of the day, and we have a teacher guide, and the teacher guide is to support the teachers to be able to use it. 15 minutes at the start of the day, 15 minutes at the end of the day. Teachers use their own songs, their rhymes, their own greetings in their mother tongue, and they facilitate this. And the different segments of our routine, I really just intended to create time to build relationships with them and their students and as the community and the class as a community. A lot of music and movement is really there just really to activate the mind, to activate the body, of course. And teachers are recognizing now that when students are not being paid attention to, then and when their energy is low, that these activities are usually helpful. But one thing that we have also learned is that the more it's how maybe like a better way to say it is like the more you teach SEL, the more you become it. You embody it, and that's what we've seen in our teachers. The more they teach it, the more they build their own relational, connectional, for lack of better words, intelligences. And because we start out by in 4 ways or 3 ways. One is during training, we spend a long time, grounding in the rationale, grounding the experience, practicing all the everything. And then when we get to coaching and mentoring, SEL is also part of the structure of the conversation. We start with an SEL activity and we end with that. So it's really like the ecosystem. And then we have classroom agreements that the teachers do and all of that. And then the kids for engagement and representation, there's a lot of body, mind usage and things like so. In the end, we found, I mean, I'm not saying that this is El Dorado or that we're where we want to be, but we just saw this shifts with the teachers who, the more they taught it, the more, it became something. And because they saw that it translated to less bullying in their classrooms and translated to kids feeling, having better conversations and engagement, they tended to want to continue with the SEL activity. And even parents, tended to, say that their kids wanted them to do the same activities at home, show them the greeting styles and things like that. So that's our example. In classrooms, and we did see a lot of classrooms where the teachers were not taken by it. And the only conversations we continue to have with them is like, until you do it frequently, then you would see the results. But again, mindset, just like Azim had said, we also saw that age gap difference. Like the older the teachers were, the less they wanted to do SEL. The younger they were, the more they wanted to do SEL. So we saw that dichotomy.
No, that's really profound. I think we'll come to the dichotomy, but the relationships, the ecosystem, the norm setting, looking at it in entirety rather than in closets of literacy, numeracy. I think that's what I'm hearing. And of course, across age, maybe the concept of whole independence. It's really interesting how things are coming up. But that's what I had heard from Mariam from Educate as well. I think relationship. How do you really build that in? I know we are almost on time. It's 4 minutes, and you would have to rush in. I'll launch a poll. This poll really helps us receive some feedback from you of how we are doing, how we can curate the future sessions better. But also simultaneously, as you fill the poll, I'll share the screen and share a bit about how we've thought about it, looking at the needs assessment survey and the annual plan. But we are happy to shove the plan. Yeah. And we are happy to recurate the plan because the whole point is to listen and respond to the needs which you are experiencing on your dance floor. So write to us either in the feedback here or voice it out or email us. It'll be really, really helpful to know what is needed so that you're not sitting in the breakout rooms, but really engaging for something which you are carrying a question. What we had thought was in the upcoming, we maybe go into an age-wise framework. What does SEL look like at ECE, at primary, at adolescence? That is one thing we were looking for. And what we were hoping was that you can collaborate with us by, like exactly Rhoda, right now, you spotlighting, what works in your context and what troubles you. Estella has contributed what troubles her in the context and the scale it is, or with Azim's TCF's context, right? So maybe we can spotlight some of these. You can come forward, we'll share a thought partnership form. But if you think we need to do something differently, maybe we need to focus on teacher first, as Estella said, rather than the principals first, maybe we can do that as well. So please voice it out. What we have for sure is the next session on 19th February. We will share a registration details separately over the email on that, and you can register for it. But what kind of sessions do we want to do is exactly really depending on how this community curates it together. So we'll pause it there. If you have a thought right now that, oh, Ajay, the next session should not be a lightning spotlight, but it should be something else, give us that demand and we'll try our best to curate it accordingly. Sure, Rhoda. I'll send the feedback form over email for you. But if there's a burning thought right now while you're filling the feedback form, please voice your opinion out, and that'll be valuable. Otherwise, I wanted to take this time to give gratitude to Sakshi and Sanchit. Thank you so much for curating this platform and leading it, and helping us curate the community of practice as well. And thank you everyone else for joining and contributing so meaningfully.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ajay, for bringing everyone together in this partnership, and hopefully much more learnings to come as a collective group.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for bringing your experiences, bringing your context into it, and really looking forward to the following sessions and learning from each other, because right now we didn't breakout room, but really would love to brainstorm more around how we can take SCL to the children, because I think this is the burning need as we have realized during this discussion. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you for sharing that, Rhoda. Have a lovely afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Take care. Bye.